Hello, fellow traders. Curtis from Beyond Backtesting here. Today, I want to talk about a little different topic. I'm going to talk about how professionals versus amateurs tend to do their backtesting. Then I'm going to talk about special considerations for backtesting for hybrid traders or those who want to use Graybox methods. I'm going to compare and contrast some of these different methods, some of the considerations. So we'll start with the amateur strategy developer or the novice strategy developer. This type of developer tends to focus on in-sample equity curves. They don't use out-of-sample equity curves. They do a lot of optimization. They tend to try to remove bad trades, providing on the in-sample data. Be a very bad type of thing to do. They use very short look-back histories. They don't consider or take into account this slippage and commission. They use very optimistic, and they accept and draw inference from a small number of samples. And this would all be characteristic of a novice or amateur developer and developing a poor quality strategy. Now we can compare that to a professional, right? And so professionals tend to focus more on the data. They examine the data, they're looking for characteristics of the data, such as trend versus mean reversion. They're looking to find unique sources of data to give their strategies unique edge. They do preserve an out of sample data, so they're very aware of in versus out of sample data and making sure that this testing the strategy on out of sample data to make sure that what they're seeing is legitimate. They are very aware of stochastic problems with the equity curves and how small changes can make for big changes in when you have a small number of trades. You can get, due to randomness, large changes in performance. So they're also aware of having a sufficient number of trades. They are very focused on the process, such as evaluating what happens when they change one thing at a time in the strategy. So they're very process driven. They backtest over long periods of time, or they use various challenge and verification methods like walk-forward analysis, statistical controls, and so forth. And they're developing their strategies for full automation with no human intervention. And they have a medium. Such strategies will generate a medium to large number of trades over a long history. Okay. Now let's compare this to backtesting for hybrid or Graybox trading. Okay. The goals are a little different here. A properly developed automated strategy typically doesn't produce very many signals because there's a very high cost if that strategy produces a signal that's wrong. There's no one to step in and say this is not the time for that signal. So you don't want any. It's better to err on the side of caution and say just don't even generate that trade. And that's not going to suit the goal for a hybrid or Graybox trader. So let's talk a little bit about discretionary traders. And there's a elite group of discretionary traders. We'll call them the most highest performing discretionary traders who are able to perform without any type of setups on the screen, without any type of algos. These are your most elite traders in some respects. And they can perform every day in the market just with their market read. They have maybe a very basic idea of their setup and their process. And then there's another group of discretionary traders who, this is more what I would consider, then there's another group of discretionary traders who can perform, but they need a process, and they've written this process down. And so there's a little more structure, but they still not go to the extent of actually plotting the signal on the screen or stuff on the screen. They have objective rules they've written down. They practice this. They have their process. They know what they're doing, and they can perform at an elite level. And then there's a third group of discretionary traders, which I think I consider myself part of. This group of elite discretionary traders can perform most of the time, and they're very similar to the 1 and 2 groups, but they get into trouble. They get themselves in trouble because they don't have the same level of discipline or patience or whatever it may be. They perform at an elite level, but then they tend to blow up. Okay, that's basically the difference in them, and they just don't have enough structure. Okay, and so the goal for hybrid or Graybox trading is to give this group of traders who have a strong ability to read markets and elite trading, and sometimes it's not even a difference in trading ability; it's a difference in risk tolerance. So without it could also be that group 3, they're too risk averse or they're too risk aggressive. They're just doing something wrong. they're not disciplined enough in their use of contracts. And it's something I made a mistake on the day. Actually, I put on too many contracts. That's too aggressive. And you don't want to be doing that. You want to be aware. This third group of traders sometimes trades on autopilot. They kind of just sometimes just go in there and just start trading. They don't know what they're doing. But they still have a generalized ability to read markets. And if they have a tight control, if they were to trade under somebody who could watch them, they'd probably do extremely well, right? If they had a babysitter, so to speak. And this is the group where I think can really benefit from hybrid or Graybox trading, who because what the idea behind hybrid and Graybox trading is that we give structure. We give structure to the program by providing only certain conditions when that trader can trade. So we limit the trading, okay? And we do that through algorithmic entries, which we presume to have some edge in some environments, invariant states, or specialized or specific conditions, right? So that the trader can only trade in these conditions. So a very simple invariant state would be you can only place trades when the market's down 1%. And that allows the trader to specialize on that condition, for one thing. It also keeps the trader out of the market when the market would be at around break even. It's a very simple state. It wouldn't be enough for an automated strategy by any means to say that's your entry rule. Just enter when the market's down 1% and do whatever you need to do. But it would, for a certain group of discretionary traders, it gives them a way to optimize or a way to specialize in trading that type of condition. Now, that's a very simple state, and the algorithms and things we can develop are much more complicated than that have much more value. And so that's just a simple state to give the idea. We can imagine, different types of states. I can give you some states that you might be worth looking at. Keltner channels, right? Looking at Keltner channels and only trading when you're within some Keltner channel distance. For example, for a tape reader, instead of reading the market just any time, any place, look at where you are in relation to a Keltner channel. Okay, that would be the type of a invariant state that a trader could optimize, could improve their craft under and specialize and get better. It gives them that structure if they're not in that tier 1 elite group of traders. And even if they are, it allows them to specialize and even get better, because now they know exactly when they execute. They're not just trading any condition. And so if that state has any particular qualities, they're going to be able to recognize that. So one of the side effects of this for hybrid Graybox trading is you need a lot more trades. You need a lot more signals, because even your well-developed automated strategies that have really good statistics tend to be very selective, and that's not going to work. That's not going to work for a day trader, an active day trader, because they're never going to get the signals. What they're going to do all day, right? And plus, the higher there's another factor too, that the higher the quality of the signal, the more it costs to intervene. So actually, an expert strategy you're more likely to hurt the performance of it, because it already has such a high. Basically, when it wins, it makes so much that it's going to be it makes it harder to improve the results. So for those reasons, it's not suitable. So we have to do something different. And what we do is we focus on the signal. Okay, for hybrid trading, for Graybox trading, we focus on signals and looking at the signal quality for certain market regimes. And this, again, the reason I go back to it is because in some ways it looks like you're going back to amateur strategy development, but there's a difference. If you notice the qualities, there's a difference in quality here. So we're focused on signals in the current market or more recent history. Such a trader is learning from live and real-time markets. They're looking for things. They're looking at things. For example, I noticed something today. It wasn't in my setup. I noticed something that happened off the 4280 level. I'm not going to say what I noticed. If you're a tape reader, you may have seen something in the market. And it gave me an idea for a trade. And actually, I almost made like a lot on that trade, because I took a trade off that. And I should have been shut down, but I took it with a mini contract, and it would have produced like $300 to $600 just immediately. And I took it off real quick because I had not meant to put on I meant to put on a couple of micros instead of the full mini, so I didn't make much on it. But that's an example of seeing something in the market and then thinking about how to integrate that into a strategy. Such a condition would probably, that I noticed, I'm not going with the specifics of it, I'd have to even go back to remember exactly the specifics, but such a condition would normally probably not mean anything. But in the context of where I'm looking for a certain type of trade, I may have noticed or been able to infer something from that. So that's the difference. That's the difference is again, we're looking for setups that give us entries when we're already looking for something, right? Conditions that we can trade that provide structure, okay? And one difference is that while this back testing, you generate a medium number of trades to a large number of trades over a long history, like you might generate 300 to 700 trades over 10 years, right? Would be a typical type of history. So that's a decent number. But this type of trader is doing a large number of trades from live trading or paper trading or from real-time markets, potentially hundreds of trades over a couple days. So we have a lot of trades here. And again, we recognize these signals may only work for certain regimes or market environments. And again, we have to recognize the value the trader has to offer for this to make sense. If we don't think the trader has anything to offer, then this method doesn't make sense, right? You have to have a certain mode of operation. It's okay, the trader has some ability to perform. They just need some structure to help them. And so this is the differences. Where when you look at these types of approaches, it's easy to look at what hybrid traders are doing and say that's just more amateurish type of work, and I can see that myself. However, what would you suggest we do, right? If we can't generate enough trades, we have to look at something. So I think in that respect, and the trader is learning in real time, utilizing in real time. They also are very process driven too, right? So we see some differences certainly in how it approaches it. I think this is a valid method. Let me be specific and clear. I think this is a valid method for developing hybrid trading strategies and Graybox trading methods. However, for fully automated trading, it would cause me a lot of consideration. And I do not think it's the proper approach for fully automated trading. It may be a step. It may be a process in your process, but I would not want to use this for fully automated trading because you need that long history. This type of approach is more for a trader who's trying to give structure to their discretionary approach, to provide setups and to join that first or second tier group of elite traders. And so it makes sense for me in that regard. It also controls the frequency of trading. It tells you when you should be watching the markets. And so it makes a lot of sense for me. Given that I have a strong ability to read markets without any signals, without anything, I could go in and read the market to some degree. It's just that without that structure, I'm more likely to get in trouble by doing too much or getting overconfident. And so that's why the setups is to keep me on the right side of the market and try to combine edges, try to combine try to combine those most optimal trades with the environment and having the conditions of the environment. And now you can take this style of trading and you can semi-automate it. You can semi-automate it if with a little bit more degree of back testing, so to speak. You can take this type of approach and semi-automate it, but you have to have a prior of the market environment you're running in. You have to have a kind of an assumption or a prior or a belief, and to know, okay, this system should only take longs only in this environment and in this way. And I can see that could work well too if your entries are producing well. A little more risky. Certainly, I would want to see how that works in the CM and have a little more. It's certainly a little more risky. You need more controls on such a strategy. But for the discretionary trader, this is how. Personally, I no longer believe in discretionary trading for most types of trades or processes. This type of trading benefits from having a large number of trades, right? That's another characteristic of this type of approach. You have a large number of trades. You see the patterns over and over again. So you're getting that pattern recognition, and there are processes that underlie that. So this is how I see it. Let me know how you see it, if you see a better way or for hybrid Graybox trading style of trading. But I do see some similarities, obviously, if you to the more amateur style of approach. But at the same time, we had special considerations, and you're gaining that real-time data. Whereas if you notice that with the true amateur approach, they're gaining most of their data from in-sample backtesting, right? Professional is using out-of-sample data, but they're not using the real-time data, and the hybrid trader is using a combination of recent and real-time data. So it's just a little different process, obviously for different goals, but hopefully you can take something from this, whether you're wanting to develop better automated strategies, or if you want to improve your discretionary trading, this may give you some ideas. As well, if you're more of a novice developer and you find yourself making some of these amateur mistakes, you may want to try to do more stuff in the professional groups. Okay, guys, hope this helps. Thanks.